So in 1974 came a little movie called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Then in 2003 there was a remake called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Then in 2013 came another movie just called Texas Chainsaw. And now in 2022 comes another movie just called Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So look, that's just a bunch of confusing titles, okay? It's a clusterfuck if I'm being honest. But let's actually get into talking about the movie itself. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 was a movie that I was very much looking forward to. This was basically my big cinema event of February. That was until I found out that this wasn't getting a theatrical release and was just getting dropped straight to Netflix, which was kind of a huge disappointment to me, to be honest. I really wanted to see this in cinemas. But that being said, it didn't completely kill my anticipation. I was still looking forward to this quite a bit. So what did I actually think about this film? Well, let's get into talking about the details. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a direct sequel to the original film, which is kind of an interesting thing. You know, it's the trend at the moment, though. All the horror movies are doing it. It's very much trying to do what 2018's Halloween did. This is a movie that feels very reactive to that film. And it's kind of funny, if I'm being honest. I'll get into some more details about that soon. But yeah, it definitely feels like it is just trying to do that exact thing, but for Texas Chainsaw. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 is about a group of young people, of course, obviously, right, who have come to this small, mostly abandoned town called Harlow with the intentions of building it up. They're planning on building properties there and everything. And with them, they also bring a bunch of investors just on a bus. Seriously, it's just a bunch of people who do not matter to the actual plot of this film. They are all coming just to look at the properties and whatever, but really they're all just there to be cannon fodder and to get killed, which I just kind of find hilarious. You know, this is a slasher movie and it's like, yeah, come in one and all, everyone, just to die. It's just kind of great. I do like that premise and it kind of makes sense. That being said, when it comes to the main characters, it also makes sense that they're there. I kind of do like that they have a little bit of a motivation there. They're not just, generic young teens looking to party or whatever. These are young adults who are like politically charged and they're there for a purpose. And I appreciate the little bit of motivation. I do have to say that they also clash with some of the, Texan stereotypes. There's a little bit of like political stuff there, like thematically, just a little bit. It doesn't really touch on the plot or anything. And with that being said, I know that a bunch of people are going to be like, leave politics out of my horror, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people are going to be turned off by this, I reckon. For me, it just added a little bit of motivation there. It added a little bit of character. Just a little bit of character. And I didn't really mind it. It felt relevant. Felt like it made sense for the story. That was okay. I feel like it's going to brush some people the wrong way, but hey, whatever. I don't know. I thought it was fine. Like, for instance, one of the girls is a victim of like a shooting that happened in her past, and it's not focused on heavily, but it does give her motivation. Well, she already has it, but motivation to survive and to not be another victim, if that makes any sense. And yeah, I liked that little element to her character, along with all of the other characters who, if I'm being honest, are pretty shallow, but they all just have some little details in there that did make me like them and at least root for them to survive. Now, that being said, when it comes to the person who is making all of the people potentially not survive, Leatherface is brutal as hell in this film, and something that I really appreciated about his brutality is that he didn't even always need a chainsaw. This dude was like, there's this one scene where he breaks a guy's arm and like snaps it, and then the bone that is like exposed out of the dude's skin, he starts to stab him with it, with his own freaking bones, and it's like, wow. Like, literally there were a few moments in here where my jaw was dropped and I was like, holy shit, that's some pretty brutal stuff. So it's definitely going to satisfy the gorehounds out there that are looking for that kind of stuff. And it did earn its R rating, the Aussie R rating, just by the way, which is harder to earn than the American R rating. This is a very violent film, if I'm being honest. And something that I do have to say about that, it's not necessarily a criticism though, but I do have to say that all of the kills for this reason aren't always the most fun. You feel bad for these victims, to be honest, quite a bit of the time. It's like there's some cringeworthy stuff in here that will actually make you maybe audibly react. If you're kind of newer to this sort of of stuff anyway. And yeah, it definitely earns that hard R rating and it leans into that violence and everything. That being said, this movie didn't feel quite as gross and grimy as the previous films in terms of just the overall feel. It had a modern, glossy look to it. Everything looked fairly nice, shot well, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it just didn't have that like disgusting feel to it, despite feeling like it was also not afraid to get very violent. It kind of rode the line of both of those somehow, which I don't mind, to be honest. And it still did manage to have that feeling of just being like a random horror movie that I would have rented on DVD back in the day, like 10 years ago or whatever. This goes hard on the violence, and yeah, it's just something to appreciate. Leatherface himself, obviously, like that big, burly, just brutal killer who can't really be stopped. It feels like, you know, not much is going to stop this guy. And so, yeah, that definitely lived on in this film, and that's not going to disappoint people who are like big fans of this. I don't think so. But yeah, that being said, like I said, all of the kills aren't exactly the funnest because you just feel bad for these people. That is until the second half, where the kills start to get a lot more absurd and things really just start flying off the wall and getting a bit silly. But I honestly appreciate this kind of stuff though. Like literally by the second half, heads start rolling, literally, like heads are cut off and he's picking up people with the chainsaw. Fuck, Leatherface is even deflecting bullets with his chainsaw. Like, it starts to get super silly. Plus, there was this one scene that's set on a bus, which I just gotta say earns the title of massacre. You know, in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there is a massacre scene in here, much like something that you might not have ever seen before, if I'm being honest. It was bloody as hell, and I was really surprised to see it, to be honest. I thought it was like a lot more effective and violent than I was ever expecting this movie to be. But that being said, it did remind me of the club scene in Blade where it starts like raining blood and everything. It also reminded me of a scene in a movie called The Collection, which is a great movie. If you like these sorts of things, check that one out. Anyway, so something else that I wanted to talk about in this film is that, and this isn't a spoiler because it's revealed quite early on, but the final girl from the original film in Sally comes back in character in this film, but not the actor. The actor doesn't come back because unfortunately she passed away in 2014, but they still bring back the character to kind of play as this like legacy hero and everything that has survived Leatherface before, like we see in a lot of other slasher franchises. And it feels like just a really weird choice to me because it's not the actor. It's just the character, you know? And they really try to like lean hard into building her up as this badass hero, like a Sarah Connor type, or very much a Laurie Strode type of character. They, again, are trying to really go hard in that 2018 Halloween thing. They are just basically trying to be the 2018 Halloween of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And to be honest, it doesn't really work at all. I don't think that it works because it's not that same actor. This actor doesn't have that legacy with this character. And it just makes it hard for me to buy. I just don't buy her as this badass character with experience. It just doesn't feel real. It feels disingenuous to me, and I thought it really didn't work. Another thing that I have to say really didn't work in this film, and this is more of a nitpick because it's really just one scene, but there is this one scene where they almost try to get you to sympathize or at least empathize with Leatherface himself. Just in this one scene alone, you see him just alone and he's kind of sad and stuff. And at this point, I believe we've seen 4 people being brutally killed for absolutely no fucking reason. And so I'm like, yeah, man, I do not feel sorry for Leatherface here. Not at all. Whatever this scene is trying to do just does not work. But that being said, it really doesn't play a huge element to this film. It's just one small moment and it's whatever. I guess it's also, you know, they don't like tell you outright, this is a scene where you have to feel sad for him. Maybe that's just how I read it. Maybe you're not supposed to feel sad for him. You're just supposed to be like, what a weirdo. I don't know what the scene was trying to do, but it didn't really work for me, whatever it was trying to do. Anyway, but that being said, for the most part, I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre works. I liked it, you know? I think there were some great moments of tension, like where characters were hiding under beds or hiding under floorboards or hiding behind the corner or whatever, just waiting for Leatherface to show up and, you know, and kill them, all that kind of stuff. And with that being said, these movies are always at their best when it's just simple cat and mouse chase type stuff. And there is a fair share of that here, and yeah, I think that it's pretty effective effective when it does play into those sorts of elements. There's some really great moments where it feels like characters are in helpless situations and, you know, you're wanting them to get out of it and all that kind of stuff. And I enjoy those sorts of moments, you know. They're very simple. They're just like adrenaline filled type of scenes, you know. They're not meant to be like very thought-provoking or anything. And yeah, with that being said, no, this film isn't super thought-provoking. No, it isn't super original, but it is entertaining in my opinion. And I think that, you know, it's a worthy sequel, at least from all of this franchise and stuff. And it also kind of has a clear respect for the films that came before it. There are some little visual homages, like a shot of the dinner table, you know, much akin to the one in the original with the family eating and everything. But this just has the shot of the table. There's no family there or anything. It's literally just there to be like, hey, remember the original? But not in a so like in your face kind of way. Like it didn't feel too bad in like the nostalgia bait sort of way. It just felt like a natural thing, even though this isn't the same house as the original film. But hey, that's a whole nother thing. And there was also one shot that kind of felt very similar to ones that we've seen in the past, where it's a shot of like a door closing and some horrific things happening behind it. And I just appreciated these little moments, to be honest. They didn't feel too in your face. They just felt natural, and they just kind of reminded me that this is coming from a place of love. It kind of did feel like there was quite a bit of passion for the Chainsaw Massacre franchise here. Now, with that being said, if you're not already behind this film, I don't think that these sorts of scenes are gonna like make you buy in. They're probably, if anything, just gonna make you like roll your eyes and be like, oh god, they're really trying now. They're trying to get me in as a fan and whatever. So I don't know how that's exactly gonna play out. I don't know what everybody's opinions are gonna be on little moments like these. And that being said, I really don't know what the general consensus on this film is gonna be at all. Like just in general, I don't know if people are gonna super like this. I know people were going in expecting this to be bad. I've had friends of mine be like, that's gonna be unwatchable, I'm telling you. I've been excited for it, so I don't know. I'm interested to see what everybody's going to think about it, but I'm not exactly sure. Like, I'm going into this right now being like, this is what I think. You know, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good for the most part. I don't know if that's going to be a super unpopular opinion or not. So yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you know, it's simple. I admit, okay? It's surface level, it's simple, it's not the greatest film of all time, okay? It's not. But in my opinion, it's pretty good. It is very short though, I have to say. It gets in and out, it's done before you even realize, and it doesn't give you a whole heap of time to get behind the characters and whatnot. But, you know, again, I had fun with it. Look, it's probably not as good as the original film. It's definitely not as good as the 2003 remake film, which is my favorite one. But it's probably better than the 2017 film Leatherface. It's probably better than the 2013 film Texas Chainsaw. You know, it's kind of one of those middling films in this franchise. I don't think it's as good as 2. It's probably better than Generations, or whatever the hell that one is called, with Matthew McConaughey, which I haven't seen, so I don't really know about that one. But yeah, I don't know. In the end, I don't think that this is a film that's going to be super memorable. You know, especially with the whole Netflix drop, this feels like a disposable film. I don't think that it's going to be one that I'm going to think back on really fondly. I'm probably just going to think back and be like, I think I remember that movie being alright. Like, it doesn't feel like it's a movie that's going to have huge impact. But, you know, while it was on, while I was watching it, I was pretty all in for the ongoings on screen, and I thought it was pretty entertaining. I'm really curious to see what everyone else is going to think. I thought it was effective enough. I was pretty impressed by like the brutality of it, and it definitely got me like behind rooting for these characters as they just run away from this monstrous man who is coming down to kill them. It was kind of badass, it was kind of fun, it was cool. Yes, it was a bit dumb and whatever, it wasn't the best film, but I had fun with it. And I think that's about all that I have to say. It's about as simple as that, right? So yeah, I'm gonna get out of here now. Thank you for watching. Do the things please, and catch ya!